God damn it. It's so weird. Like, we're coming from like a lot of sick kids. We haven't slept normally since Oscar was born. And now finally, like, both of them are feeling good. They're at kindergarten. We actually sleep beyond 7 in the morning, which is amazing. But I feel like a ticking freaking bomb. It's like everything that I had to like suppress is just coming out now. Now that we're actually moving into something that's normal, and I feel really bad about it, because I'm kind of taking it out on the kids in terms of being impatient and just getting very frustrated, because there's a lot of complaining, but that's kids. Like, they don't have perspective on anything, which is perfectly understandable. That's what you get with age and experience. But it's really, really, like, we're waking up, everybody has slept well, it's nice weather outside, and we're getting downstairs, and it's like complaining about the freaking TV. Oscar is complaining about food all the time. He's not getting what he wants, and it's never enough, and it's just constant complaining. And it's like, for me, it's like, it should feel like such a relief that we're finally, like, summer is coming, we're sleeping well, and then we have to deal with this shit. And it's just, oh my god. But I think it just needs to, I just need to get it out, kinda. And then it will get better. Let's see. Let's make a copy of this one. So I actually got things working. So maybe I should show you what I actually did here. Let's see. I'm just reconnecting here. Okay, so what I've done now is, this is how it looks now. We have something called a PR hunk, which has a start and an end, and it has operations. So I'm completely remove this concept, like leaking like Git hunk information into this, because the goal of this hunk is that it should hold the operations to produce from the current state of the document to after the diff has been applied. That should be the same, but it's in terms of operations, so it has like intermediate steps, unlike a diff, which is basically like applying the final result on top of the previous result. Let's see. Yes, and the way this works is that the operations are just an offset of the start, and then there's an actual operation. And in terms of the transposition, it actually ended up being quite simple, because what I did is that I looked at so there are hunks being applied to build up the document. But then as these hunks are moved around, they affect the other hunks, and they're also affected on themselves by the other hunks. But instead of like looking at each hunk, how are they affected by other hunks and how do they affect other hunks, I just look at how is this hunk affected by other hunks. Because what's been like, oh fuck, I have a meeting in 10 minutes. Ah, fuck. I forgot. I was super stressed this morning. I even booked a session at the wrong time. Let's see if I can postpone this. Yeah, nobody has actually replied to this. Let's see. Let's do it at 11:30 instead. Find the time. Or at 11. Let's do it at 11. Then we have enough time. Okay. Oh, yeah, maybe we should do 11:30, because then everyone can attend. Okay, 11:30. No, 11. Sorry. Okay, cool. I'll send that. Let's see. Yes. So the point is that instead of the hunk looking at itself and other hunks, it just looks at how other hunks affects it. So here I have, I'm going through the hunks once. I pick the current hunk, and then we go and grab the other hunks. And then we look at, and I'm being very explicit, is this other hunk adding to the transposition of this current hunk, or is it removing transposition? Which means that, so if I move something left, the other hunk, so any remaining hunks might look at this moved hunk and see that, oh, now this, sorry, if I move it right, that this transposition that was currently happening, because this happened before this hunk, doesn't happen anymore because now it's moved right. That's like removing transposition. Maybe we're not adding, but it's more like sometimes it's about, oh my god, this is really hard to put into words, but it's basically, does this other hunk affect this hunk anymore? Because it's been moved, it might have been moved right, which means that it doesn't affect it anymore. Or if you move something left, the other hunks in that other commit, they are suddenly affected by a new hunk coming into the file or into the commit. Anyways, so that's a much simpler approach, which gave me a lot more control. The tricky thing is actually identifying in what way can the other hunk affect this current hunk. And it's not as straightforward as it seems. But this logic actually worked with, let's see, let's find the project. Oops, that was wrong. Holy serve. So this actually worked just fine. In the tasks file, I can move stuff around like crazy without having any issues. Dev. Oh, I forgot to change the, oops, sorry. Let's do this. What's happening? Why can't I change the... Okay. Why can't I change the display settings? Is it because I'm in... Oh well, you'll just have to deal with it. I forgot to change my... Again, stressed. God damn it. Yeah, so it might be a bit small on the screen here. Oh. Let's see. Anyways, let's open the preview. Yeah, anyways, so in this file, you could move stuff around just fine, and it handled it perfectly. But then I noticed that I didn't actually handle, you can even see it here on PR server. This is where it transforms the hunk into operations. And here, if I just remove this removal offset, you can see the problem. So just a simple thing. What did I just do? Oh, just a simple thing as removing two lines, one after the other in the diff. So here it actually removes, line 8 and 9, but you see it doesn't actually do that, which is why I have this removal offset, but I don't think it actually works. So what I thought we could do is reason about how should these operations actually be produced. Because if we think about, we have different lines here. So let's 1, 2, like we're going to reason about how should the operations look like. And then we have like 5, and then we remove 8 or whatever. Okay, so we don't really care about the contents. What we care about is the diff. So the diff tells me that I've removed line 1, I've removed line 2, and then I had an addition on line 2, then I had an addition on line 5, and then I had a removal on line 8. So what should this look like in terms of operations? So to produce like the result here, so yeah, maybe we should talk about that first. What is the actual result of this? So the result of this is that we don't have line 1 and 2 anymore. We don't have line 1 and 2, and line 2, the addition of 2 has actually become line 1, which means that line 5 has actually become line 4. And yeah, we don't have line 8 anymore. Maybe we should add some text here. Yeah, let's add some text. So let's just say, yeah, let's just add, damn it. So this is 1, 2, 0, 2, 1, 5, and 8. And then we should have the other lines as well. So like 3, 4, 6, 7. Yeah, something like this. Let's see if we can. I'm trying to create a good mental image of this. So 1, this should now be actually be 2, 1. And then we still have 3, 4, and 5. Let's just do this. So this is how it should look. And then we should still have 6 and 7. But we don't have 8 anymore. Yeah, this is a bit confusing. I'm not, god damn it. Diffs are confusing. Like you should see that I'm really happy that we can take a look at really complex diffs as well and try to solve, working on them in a better way. But yeah, we can look at that later. Anyways, what we should have here is an offset of 0, and the operation is -1. That's the first thing that needs to happen to this document. And then we want there to be another offset of 0. Because now we remove that line. So now this line, the line we now want to remove is not 2, it's actually 1. Because we've already removed line 1. So this should also be. And then we want to say, yeah, so in this case, since we remove and add on the same line, it actually becomes a change. So this would be like 2, 1. And then we have an offset of, so we removed one line and replaced one line. So this offset should now be, so if we start on line 1 and we add 4, that would be line 5, but now it should actually be 3. Because that start is 1 and offset is 3, which becomes 4, which is correct because we removed the line. That's where we actually want to add 5. And then we have the final offset, which is, I guess this should be 6 or something. Operation -1. Because what happens now is that as it goes through, so think of this as an array of lines. It goes through, it removes line 1. Yeah, maybe we can do this in steps. So it removes 1 like that. And then it goes in and it basically, yeah, so this is the confusing part. I'm kind of putting these two, maybe I should do this instead so that it makes more sense. And then we have a replacement, we have a replacement, which basically means this is not there anymore. And we have this. So this is line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. Where we have the addition. Yeah, and this is the thing, like now we have the addition. So now this offset should actually be put back to 7. Because we have a removal and then we have the addition. And I think that's what I'm missing in my logic, is that I'm not, when we have additions again, I'm not changing the offset or the removal offset. So yeah, maybe that's the thing. Because what I'm doing now, I'm having this removal offset, but I don't like the logic. It's really hard to put into your head how this actually works. Maybe we should do minus instead. Yeah, let's not call it removal offset, but let's call it operation offset. Yeah, let's just call it operation offset. And the point here is that whenever, and this is the thing, it doesn't only like create the operations, it also merges them into this replacement thing, which is super nice for the client to deal with, but not as nice here, because it requires additional logic. We can't just take any line, so we can't have a removal and an addition on the same line here. We merge them into one operation. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe that should rather be something the client deals with. How would the maybe we should remove that. So it's either -1 or it's an addition. Yeah, but the thing is that and now the operations is an array, so we can actually do that. So this has some history as well. Maybe we should do that. And in the presentation of this, we would, to pick up that it's a replacement, we would just look at Yeah, we would rather do it there, I think. Yeah, I think this should be as a raw translation as possible. Or should it? This is the thing. Like, what's the scope of this? Should it just produce the removal and additions from the diff into like a sequence of operations, or should it actually add this operation of replacing a line? It makes things more consistent. Like if anyone else were to use this, it will make things more consistent. Yeah, so I think it should do that. But what we do here is that whenever we have a plus, we actually need to add to the operation offset. That's something I didn't do previously. Which would explain why it was super weird. Okay, and I've actually commented out the transposing now because I'm trying to fix this thing. Yeah, now this looks correct. Was it as simple as that? Because this looked super weird previously, like it wasn't deleting the correct lines. But what you can see here is like how complex these diffs become. It's kind of crazy. And like what's being replaced versus what's being removed and added, suddenly like it makes no sense. Like if you look at this thing, it makes like it's so nice to kind of see. You clearly see what was added and removed and replaced, especially here. Like it's beautiful. But when you get to something as complex as this, like it's just horrible. It doesn't give you anything. Like reading this, you don't really understand what was removed at all. There's no reason to indicate it even. So that's something to definitely explore. But this is nice. Is this working as well now? Let's see. Is this valid code? It looks pretty valid. Return PR. Yeah, this actually fixed it. Awesome. Yeah, super nice. So like current line operation, that's the thing that's being like it's the line difference is so big that yeah, it just doesn't make sense. And here but does it actually indicate what it removes? Yeah, but that has nothing to do with this solution. This is just like Git diffs in general, where to some extent they help you, but at some point there are so many changes in a hunk or in a file that it doesn't matter. Like it's the full context of the old hunk and the new hunk that actually indicates, like it just becomes confusing. It didn't really have to. Maybe that's something we can do. It's like, okay, if a hunk has a certain number of changes, we don't give the indications at all. We just say that the whole hunk has changed. And when you then flip between them, you don't have all this information that's not relevant. It doesn't help you. That's really interesting. Anyways, that's something else to explore. But now that we have this in place, let's put back the transposition and hopefully everything works then. At least to some extent. So let's transpose it. So yeah, exactly. So what happened now is that the transposing, and there is still a bug here. You can see that it transposed this, but it shouldn't have done that. But what I can do is I can try to show you the other transposition. So you see that's fine now. This is still working. Transposing. Oh yeah, now this is off as well. But this transposing might be wrong because I hadn't. It might have changed. Yeah. think, yeah, so what I think has changed. Okay, we'll just have to dive into that logic. So this is definitely not working anymore. But at least now we know that operations are working. So that's a good thing. So what should we look at first here? So the thing about the transposition is that I don't have a good way to identify all this. So that's what's happening. Is there's so many different scenarios of moving a hunk. So you can like move a hunk one left, or you can move it two left. And it might affect other hunks after it, or there might not be hunks after it. And when you move it out, so when I moved, so if we move this one back, so when I moved this one out, it actually didn't affect this one. But if I were to move it right, then it does affect this one. And it actually transposes it correctly. You see it move from 8 to 7. I believe. Did it do that? Anyways, the point is that it does affect it, because now this line is still here, while it wasn't there when we had that thing in there. And then the same, like this one is now from the left, like moving beyond. Yeah, it's still failing there, I think. Yeah, you see command doubling here. So anyways, we have to revisit the transposing now that we actually are confident that this part is working. But this is nice. This could be actually a library in itself. It's just transforming a hunk into a set of operations to reproduce that document like step by step, which is what we need to like change things around and rebuild the contents of the file. Anyways, so let's look at the transposing. So where did it fail first? Yeah, we don't need to look at that one. So it worked, moving this worked just fine. So what actually happened, or what piece of logic ran? So we move this over, so the only hunk that we really do something with is this one. The others aren't really, shouldn't match any of this. Move to oh, sorry. So this hunk shouldn't be affected by this, but this hunk is affected by this, because now we already removed that. So I'm wondering why we're getting to move to. Because that one shouldn't actually be affected. Yeah, so let's, the good thing is that there aren't many hunks in this file. So we just have to, so we can very easily see if there was anything happening here. So let's see. So which hunk is being affected by this ID? Okay, let's. Okay, so it said that 21 is affected, and then 3, 5. Isn't that this one? Oh, why the hell did it change that one? That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, so how? And it was moved to. So is other hunk adding transposition? So for some reason, this hunk thinks that this hunk added transposition for this one, which is super weird. So it sees that this is correct. So the other hunk does start before this one. That's correct. Other hunk is moved left. Other hunk SHA index is less than the SHA index of this. That's correct. And the other hunk original SHA index is less than is not equal to this one. But why does it say that it's adding transposition? It would mean that we would have to say, yeah, this should rather be, so the other hunk origin SHA index needs to be more, like it needs to be more than this thing to affect it. Or equal to, no, it just needs to be more for it to have moved left. Yeah, exactly. So now this one works. This one works. Yeah, so I was just grabbing, I was too blunt about figuring out how it moved left. It's of course if or maybe this should be SHA index. I think this should be SHA index. Yeah, it should be SHA index. Where it's currently at, no, not where it's, yeah, originally was. So it's been other hunk SHA index is less or equal to hunk.SHA index. Yeah, and this is what actually identifies it as having been moved. Yeah, I think this is correct. And then if we move this one, then this is wrong. And why is this wrong? The thing I wonder is how to document this, how to document all the different scenarios, and kind of describe exactly what it does. Yeah, something to look at later. So what happened now is that this hunk was being evaluated, and for some reason it got transposed, but it shouldn't have been. So what happened here is that since this was removing a line, it removed a line from this one. So what happened is that this other hunk, being this one, was suddenly affecting this one, but it shouldn't, because they are actually coming from the same origin. So that's another thing. If they're coming from the same, if both of them have been moved and they're both coming from the same origin, they shouldn't affect each other because they already have coming from that origin. So we also have to check other hunk.org. Yeah, so we should have is not equal to the hunk origin index. So if from same origin, they already have affected each other. Only affected by left. Only affected by moving past. Moving left, passing the current hunk. That's bad wording, but oh, this didn't actually help. What the hell happened here? Moved from -2. Okay, so now is other hunk removing transposition? So now this is suddenly affecting it. And I feel like I'm just chasing scenarios. And then I suddenly remove something and we're changing around, and then I break some other scenarios. And constantly, as I'm fixing one scenario, I'm breaking another scenario. And that's what I'm struggling with. I don't know how to express this in a good way so that we don't do that. Like, explicitly identify all kinds of scenarios. I think that would be best, like, at least in terms of readability and understanding the code, is just having every single scenario, how one hunk can affect another hunk. But yeah, I'm not sure how to express that yet. So let's just keep chasing. So why the hell was this suddenly this hitting that other hunk? So other hunk is definitely before that one. If the other hunk has been moved right, other hunk SHA index is more than its origin SHA index, that doesn't hit it. But the current hunk has been moved left, that's correct. So the SHA index is definitely less. And yeah, we just have to have the same check here, that it should not be affected by if it has been moved left, any previous hunks affecting this, if they're from the same origin SHA, they shouldn't be affected. But it still doesn't work. So what the hell is affecting this now? Moved from -2. Moved from. Is other hunk removing? So how? Other hunk SHA index is more than other hunk. So this can't be true. It has to be this one. How is this possible? I wonder which part of this actually was true. It has to be this one. This has to be true. Let's look at that. Yeah, 1.6, true. Why is that true? The hunk SHA index is less than its origin SHA index. That's true. The current hunk has been moved left. And the other hunk origin SHA index is more than the current SHA index, which is also true. The other hunk origin SHA index is not equal to hunk origin SHA index. But that's not true. Like, that's what I don't understand, because I do have the same. But why does it say? It's almost like this hunk is being the one causing this. But how can that be true? That's not more than. Other hunk start should be less than this hunk start. Oh. How is that possible? Let's just, because that start, like, that explains the -2, because this actually has 2 removals. No, it doesn't quite explain it, because Yeah, why is it -2? Oh, wait a minute. Is it grabbing this one? Oh. Maybe that's the key here. Yeah, it's this not equal to. I think that's the same issue that we had up here. So it's actually looking at this hunk. Other hunk, origin SHA index. Yeah, so let's see if it actually matches that other hunk. So that other hunk does start before this one. It's SHA index. Yeah, this is the one that's the current one is moved left. The other hunk origin SHA index is more than the SHA index, of course. And the other hunk origin SHA index. Yeah, so it's actually pointing to that one. What we're not checking here is that the other hunk is actually on this SHA index. That's the important thing here. Yeah. So the other hunk, maybe that's something every check should be here. So other hunk is less or equal to This isn't true. Yeah, so what this does is it basically says if that other hunk is coming from my left up to this point, that's what this says. Before the current line, go back in Git history up to this point. Those are the ones I care about. And that's true. So before current line and up to this SHA. That's what this means. And before current line, current start, or before hunk start, before hunk SHA, before and including hunk SHA. So everything in history up to that point. But we don't care about stuff that's actually in, only affected by moving left, passing the hunk. Do we actually care about that? Or do we only care about the ones that doesn't have? Other hunk is not equal to hunk. We only care about the one. So everything that stays with their same origin SHA and SHA, if origin SHA and SHA is the same, we don't do anything. So, yeah, I think I just have to create the right model for this. So other hunk origin SHA is not equal to other hunk SHA index. It has been moved. Yeah, that's the only thing we care about. But do we care about where it's been moved from? That's something we also care about. Like if something, so if I'm looking at a hunk at SHA-3 and something has moved from SHA-1 to SHA-2, That doesn't affect this one on SHA-3. That's the thing. It needs to have been moved from my current SHA, or like from current SHA or up and down. That's the only way this hunk can be affected in terms of adding transposition. Yes, so it has been moved from, yeah, so this is interesting. Before hunk start. Yeah. From this SHA or later. So the other hunk origin SHA needs to be more or equal to hunk.SHA index. Yes, so its current SHA index is less or equal to the current SHA index, but its origin was more or equal to the current SHA index. Yes, that's exactly what it should be. So if we apply this thinking to the removal, so we're going to do this again. So when I say is other hunk removing transposition, it means that it's no longer, so this is affecting, this is new hunks going into the history of this current hunk, looking at this hunk. We have moved new hunks into the history, which means that now we need to add the line changes from those hunks. And this means the opposite. This is when something has been removed from the history, affecting this hunk we're looking at. Yeah, that's exactly how we should look at this. Yeah, so this should be, is other hunk moved into a history of hunk? Is other hunk removed from history of hunk? This is the thing, like these mental concepts for me is really important. Because you can have a lot of X's and Y's but you need to have like strong terms to reason about this stuff. Okay, so again, it can only affect it if the other hunk is before this one. Like the lines has to be before to actually affect this. And what we need to know is this other hunk SHA index, is it part of the history of this current SHA or this current hunk, which is true if it has a start before this one, and is actually the SHA index is less or equal to the current one. So this, I guess, is the only thing we care about. It has been moved from this SHA or later. Now it's the opposite. If its origin is less or equal to the current SHA or before, that's how it suddenly now it doesn't affect this one anymore. This should really be it. If this works, then I'm happy. But probably it doesn't. Yeah, something's already going wrong. Yeah. Okay, so this one's correct. So this one is already going wrong. But let's look at what's actually going wrong there. So it's saying, yes, no transposition should actually happen here now. So there's one key ingredient missing here. And I think it's we have to identify that the hunk is actually moved, which we're not doing now. Before hunk, yeah, so has actually been moved, and that we identify that by looking at its origin index and it being different than its SHA index. So we have to check that as well here. Has actually been moved. If it hasn't been moved, we don't care about it. Okay, cool. That's good. Okay, so if we move this left now. Fuck. Why in my mind this seems so straightforward, but it's not working. God damn it. Why it seemed so correct. This seems so correct. Fuck. I'm glad we have this simple example though. If we hadn't that, like this would never work. So we're actually making changes to this one, which is correct. And then we're making changes on 1 to 6. It's actually making a change to that one as well, which is weird. But this one shouldn't actually be affected, but it's moved to, so it's being affected by this one. And what we said here is that if it's been moved left, oh, it has been moved from this SHA or later. Should it include the current SHA? As we saw now, if it's the current SHA, oh no, that's wrong. It has to be later. A later SHA, because if it's from the current, it still affects it in the same way. It still doesn't work though. Why are you being moved? Oh, now it's being affected by this one. Oh, it has been moved from this SHA or before? Anyways, so now it's moved from that's being so now it's being affected by this one. So has actually been moved. That's true. Before hunk start, that's true. Before, is it part of the history here? It has been moved from, yeah, so this is the same. It has been moved from this SHA or before. That's also true. But in this case, again, yeah, I don't think we should have the equals there. It's the same as the one up here. Because it shouldn't, it's already been affecting this one. So as long as but are we actually stating that the other hunk has been moved from before hunk SHA to a later one? Like, we're not actually looking at that. We're just seeing that the other hunk origin SHA index is less than the current SHA. And we have to check if the other hunk SHA index is now oh wait, this is wrong. Yeah, this should actually be more. After yeah, so this we shouldn't have equals SHA index. Because when it's on the same SHA index, yeah, let's so now has actually been moved. We could has been moved to a later SHA. Yeah, so this is the thing. It has been moved from before hunk SHA to a later one. So this is both of these checks. This is saying that if the other hunk origin SHA is less than the current SHA we're looking at, and that other hunk SHA index is now later than the current SHA we're looking at, that means it has been moved. So we don't actually need, yeah, so this is the actual check. It has been moved from earlier in history to later. That's what we want to check. And only if it's before the hunk start. Oops. So that's what we want to do here as well. It has been moved. Why am I having such a hard time expressing this? I don't quite get that. Because it seems so simple. It has been moved from later in history to earlier. That's all we want to do. So if it's other hunk origin SHA index, or maybe I'm just simplifying it in my head, it's not this easy. If the origin SHA index is more than the current SHA index, yeah, so this has to be equal, because it might have been moved into the current SHA, which also means it affects. And the other hunk SHA index, no, sorry, this was the origin SHA, but this one is, if it's equal to or less than the current SHA index, and before hunk start. Like, this should be all. Yeah, these ones are working now. No, this is not working. For a sec. Yeah, but this is the tricky thing. It's when you move two things in history. That's what we're not taking care of. So move 2, it's actually being affected by, so it has been moved from earlier in history to later. That's not right. Why does it say that? Is other hunk removed from history of hunk? That's not true. Oh, sorry, move 2, sorry. It has been moved from later in history to earlier. So we're looking at this hunk now. And this is the hunk and this is the other hunk. And it sees that that other hunk has indeed been moved from later in history to earlier. Before hunk start and other hunk where should we express that? It has been moved from later in history to earlier. Let's keep that, but also let's make a statement that Like if that hunk also needs to be that other hunk origin needs to be more than current, more than hunk, because other hunk origin SHA-index needs to be more than the hunk origin SHA-index, or it's not affected, like it's already been affected by it. Yeah, I think that's correct. Maybe that's also true here. Remove from history of hunk. Do we care about that then? So if we move, so let's say we move 2 of them to the right. Well, we can just test that. Let's move all of these here. Oh, here it already breaks. It doesn't do anything. Why doesn't it transpose? Oh, so you don't, for fuck's sake. You don't only move stuff into the history by moving it left. You can also move something right and include new stuff in its history. Can happen when moving moving hunks left and right. That's the thing. So these are the different perspectives I tried to reason about it, like from the perspective of did I move left, did I move right? But now it's more like, does this hunk have new history now, or doesn't it? So it's not moved into, it's more affecting history of hunk. But then they're affecting it in different ways. God damn. Is other hunk, what does that mean? Is there a general term for us moving these two? So this is like, now we move them into the history of this hunk, but if we move them back, now we're moving this. What are we doing now? Did we do something common now? We could make these different. So this is actually, is explicitly, is other hunk moved into history of hunk? Or we could state, is hunk moved, we rather flip it. So we rather say, is hunk moved, and then we could just have the same no, because yeah, is hunk, so yeah, we flip it, we say it's the hunk moved. So yeah, so that's the difference. In this case, in the first case, we actually moved other hunks, affecting the history of this hunk. But in this case, we're moving this hunk and it's getting, fuck, I have a session. We're actually moving this hunk and changing the history of it. Is hunk moved? know how to express this. When Hank, but why are they different? That's what I don't get. Are they really different? Are they really different? Because it's doing the same calculation. Like, this is the thing. I want two variables, and I want each of these variables to describe exactly what the calculation, like why it needs to transpose it. That should be in the name, and I can't conceptually figure out that name because this is wrong. It's not about is other hunk moved into history of hunk. It's but would we even be able to express this with this logic? It has been moved from later in history to earlier. That's not necessarily the thing. Other hunk shine x is more or equal to hunk shine x. That's still valid. Yeah, and the other one is also valid. Other hunk origin shine x is more than... No, that's not true. That would have to be an equals. Before hunk start, other hunk origin needs to be more than... Okay, so maybe this just needs to be an equals. Maybe that's all we needed. Let's see if the other one works now. Okay. It's still the variable name doesn't make sense. Is other hunk moved into history of hunk? Yeah, it's more affecting the history of the hunk, but that's true for this one as well. Yeah, I have to find a good way to describe that. Anyways, this one's still cool. I can move this over here. It's still cool. What if I move these ones over there? This one's still cool about it. This one's still cool about it. What if I just move one over here? Yeah, it's still cool. That one works. And then I have to be a little bit careful because now I'm not merging hunks currently. So what if I move this back? Let's move this over here. That's still nice. What if I move this one over here? Yeah, this is still correct. Nice. What if I now move this one over here? That didn't work. And why doesn't this work? Is it because... Let's try to simplify the example. Yeah, it's already breaking there. Oh, and this one's also broken. What broke it? Oh, it was just moving that one over. So I'm just going to check what kind of logic triggers here. So we have moved to. Yeah. Move to. So is other hunk removed from history of hunk? Why didn't that trigger? It has been moved from earlier in history to later. Other hunk origin index is less or equal to. And yeah. Oh, interesting. So now that worked, but then the other one broke. Yeah, I think we're missing this one. And other hunk origin needs to be equal, actually, I think. Yeah. Okay. Because looking at this, I want to know what hunks that, yeah, actually affected this origin. But does that help moving this? I guess so. No, yeah, exactly. So now this is still wrong. And this is still wrong because nothing happens. But why is this? Yeah, because now, yeah. So these two should actually be running this. I have to stop streaming. I have to go into a session. But I have a feel like looking at the code of like operational transforms, it's just a bunch of this stuff. Like it's very pragmatic. It's not like some magical reducer or anything like that. It's very much like, okay, if this is the thing, do this. If this is the thing, do this. It's a bunch of if statements. And I have a feeling this needs to be the same. It's just a bunch of if statements. But the point is to make those if statements as simple and straightforward and understandable and readable as possible, which I'm having a really hard time doing. And maybe I'm probably doing the wrong approach here. I should probably just go in and identify all the different scenarios of how a hunk can be moved around and write tests for it. And then when things are actually working, then I go in and figure out how to simplify it and then validate by the tests. That's how a proper developer would do it. But my mind is just stuck on this. I want to put everything in my head first, and then I want to, but it might just be too complex for my head. Yeah. That's the thing, like I know rationally how to approach problems in a good way, but I get sometimes like emotionally attached to what I'm trying to do, as if I'm trying to like prove myself or something. And that kind of, then I become irrational. I'm not being very like objective on, okay, this is the problem. So if someone else was struggling with this, that's exactly what I would say. I would say, you know what? Go in, find all the scenarios that you need to deal with, write tests for those scenarios, make the code, make the tests run and go green, and then go in and clean up the code and make it more readable. Yeah, but we're not going to do that. Okay, bye for now. We'll talk later.